Hey there, Slumpbusters. This is your host, Juju Talk Sports, and I am here to bring you episode 75. I have a loaded show ahead for you guys. Welcoming on Michael Lenoir, an NBA draft hopeful. We got the NBA draft here in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we get to hear Mike's name called. So go ahead, stay tuned for that interview. And then directly after Mike, my co-host from 49 Reasons to Listen, Jose Corral, we're going to be talking about the most injured team in NFL history. I'm telling you, this team is cursed. Stay tuned, hear who we're talking about. But before we get into that, before we get into the show, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, promo code SLUMP, it is proven to save you a lot of money on a lot of great products, one of which being Nature's Relief. Now, you've heard about a lot of CBD companies in recent years. Well, we have found the best. We found you the company that's guaranteed to bust any slump you're in. I'm telling you, Nature's Relief, TX.com. Go ahead and check out these guys. They have tons of fantastic products, whether it be their nighttime gummies, their drops, or even their treats for dogs. I know that you will enjoy them too. Go ahead and check out Nature's Relief, TX.com. Use promo code SLUMP. That's going to save you about 10% off. And then directly head on over to manscaped.com. Now, I love Manscaped. Manscaped is the number one in men's grooming for a reason. They are the number one proven below-the-waist grooming product for men. They are the perfect tools for your family jewels. And I'm here to tell you, use promo code SLUMP, and it's going to save you 20% off plus free shipping and handling on the best products on the market. I'm talking about the Lawnmower 3.0. I'm talking about the Perfect Package 2.0. Have I told you about the Crop Preserver? Because it's the best. It keeps you smelling fresh all day. And then the Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. Just perfect. Honestly, this is a great combination, and it can be yours if you use promo code SLUMP to save 20% off plus free shipping and handling. Check them out, manscaped.com. Our next sponsor, a company from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I can say that it's not just Walter White's Memphis game brewed out there. We're talking about Caveman Coffee. Now, they have the Nitro Cold Brew. They have Pumpkin Spice. They have all these fantastic blends that are guaranteed to jumpstart your morning, get you going, get you heading in the right direction. Now, Caveman Coffee, if you use promo code SLUMP, again, you're going to save yourself some money. Promo code SLUMP, guaranteed to make sure your wallet never falls into a slump. After you've done all these savings, you're probably thinking, man, I have all this money now. Where do I invest it? Where do I put it? Well, let me tell you about razorsport.com. That's Razor, R-A-Z-E-R, sport.com. This is a website that has a diverse team of betting experts, handicappers that are here to ensure you have the tools you need to beat Vegas. Now, we talked about having the perfect tools for your family jewels. Well, how about the perfect tools to beat Vegas? Because that is much needed. Vegas has been winning too long. And I think that with razorsport.com, R-A-Z-E-R sport.com, you will have the right information to know who to bet on, when to bet on them, and why that is a place to put your money. So Razor Sport, Nature's Relief, Manscaped.com, Caveman Coffee, all proud sponsors of the Slumpbuster Podcast. All products guaranteed to bust the slump. Now let's get into the episode and bust your slump.
Quiet on the set, make sure my mic is on. Eric, Dre, and Juju Dog diving towards the pylon. Go for two, so damn rude, recognize authority. Spitting tips for fantasy, no way you're outscoring me. Bold predictions with conviction every single day. Sports addiction, no restriction, kicking game like Pele. He's the greatest, what's the basis? Pick an athlete, let's debate this game. Outrageous trading places, sudden death, take 10 paces. Turn and shoot, boys the truth, Mamba mentality. Future greats take their place, dreams become reality. Low and outside, knocked it out the park. Your boy discovered fire like a rock with a spark. Refs acting like Neanderthals, phantom flags, nothing calls. Heartbreak losses, tragic falls. Every week discuss it all. Settle in, listen up. Free your time like Andrew Luck. Show's about to start. I suggest you buckle up.
Welcome in, Slumpbusters. The NBA draft is scheduled for a couple weeks from now, Wednesday, November 18th, and I'm sitting with a guest here today, Michael Lenoir, who is hoping to have his name called on draft day. You've probably heard of Anthony Edwards, probably heard of LaMelo Ball. Now, Mike, let the people know about you. What's your story, my friend?
My story is how I got into basketball. I started off at a really young age with me and my dad. Starting off in the driveway, really. We just started off in the driveway, and he saw that I was really good, and he was really good. So he knew from then on out that I was going to be really good. So we just worked until where we are now.
I mean, you definitely are taking more of a untraditional path. I mean, obviously most people like entering the draft portal coming from big NCAA universities or a lot of professional leagues outside of the US. Now you are coming from the Creative Young Minds Academy, the Undiscovered Leagues. So how does someone in the Undiscovered League become discovered?
Really just keep working. And actually, I played professional in the U.S. in the third professional basketball league in the U.S. It's the NBA, the G League, and then the TBL. I played in the TBL, so I believe in my abilities that, that's why I entered my name into the draft.
Tell me about those experiences and how you think that that's prepared you to try and make the biggest leap. I mean, by far and away, the biggest leap that any young athlete that's aspiring could make. I mean, 1% of 1% of athletes actually make it to that level to play.
Right. Well, I know growing up, I played against older and grown men my whole life. So, and I mean, when I got into the TBL league, it was nothing but NBA players and G League and players that had already played overseas. So I believe in my abilities, and in the TBL, I averaged 24 points and 11 assists on the pro level. So I knew from then on out that I can really do big things in this league. And the guys in the draft, I played against majority of those guys too. So they're not really all that to me, if you want to be honest. Not throwing those shots, but it just is what it is.
Hey, I like the confidence. I'm sure like a lot of NBA front offices, executives love a player that has confidence in their own abilities when you're talking about who you're going to invest capital in, who you're going to invest time, energy in the ability to use draft pick on. Now, with that said, describe your game. So there's a lot of people that might not be familiar with who Michael Lenoir is. Who do you model your game after? If you had to compare yourself to someone, biggest inspiration?
Out of my game after a couple of people, I'd say I had a heart of Allen Iverson. I'm really aligned on the court. I don't back down to nobody. I got the biggest heart in the gym whenever I play. I say my IQ would be somewhere like Chris Paul's. Fast like Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose in his prime. So I can shoot. I shoot like Damian Lillard, my teammates tell me. So I feel like I just got a nice all-around game, honestly.
Well, that's very important. Obviously, the shooting ability, today's game has shifted so much to be a very shooter-friendly league. Would you say that you were a natural shooter? Is that something that you had to develop over time and you're still developing?
Yeah, that's something I believe. I mean, some people's born a shooter. I feel like I'm not necessarily just a shooter. You feel what I'm saying? So that's something that I worked on time and time, and I'm still working on become a better shooter every day.
With the professional basketball experience you've had so far to this point, have you already had the opportunity to sit down and talk with NBA scouts, NBA executives about this upcoming draft? I know it's definitely a weird, unique time in human history, obviously, with COVID-19. I'm kind of wondering how that has affected the pre-draft process for yourself as someone who's trying to make it.
I think actually it affected everyone just a tad bit, but for me, I looked at it as in a way to an advantage for me, because like you said, by me being kind of undiscovered and a hidden gem, it gave me also a lot of time to work and put in a lot of work by them to keep moving the draft back. So that means they'll have more time for me to keep my stock rising. So I feel like that was good for me. And from NBA standpoint, yes, I have talked to NBA scouts, so it's been really good through the whole process.
Now, I was reading, technically you are still eligible for the NCAA play if it came down to it. So if you were to not get drafted here in a couple weeks, would that be something you would pursue?
I don't know. That might have to be something I'll think about. But, I mean, school, that's not an issue. I mean, I like school, but I just feel like me personally, I can play on a professional level right now. I played on it last year. So I feel like those guys that I played against in the TBL are not really too far from the guys in the NBA. So I feel like I'll be able to be me and do me wherever I go.
From my understanding, you didn't pick up any offers initially from one of the NCAA universities. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what led into the decision to basically land where you're at now versus some of the other alternative routes?
When I went to prep school, Creating Young Minds Academy, we played against all JUCOs, like D1 JUCOs, guys just entering the draft, all those type of things. Really good JUCOs. Jimmy Butler's former JUCO, TJC, Tyler Junior College, all those good JUCOs. And I killed all of them, honestly. I averaged the same thing that I averaged in the TBL season, 24 and 11. So it was like, I've really played on the college level and I played on the TBL level. It was really no different to me. So, I mean, I'm not just being cocky. I just believe in my abilities. I'm confident. My coach, my dad, they tell me every day, trust your abilities and go out there and just play. So that's all I do. And I feel like when I'm out there on the court, I got the advantage instead of them having the advantage.
What part of your game do you think would probably be the biggest thing you need to work on moving forward?
Part of my game I think I need to work on the most is everything. I'm not satisfied at nothing at all. Shooting, ball handling, being a better teammate, being a better leader, making my IQ grow, defense, everything. I want to grow at everything to be known. Like, I don't want no room for error. I'm chasing perfection knowing I'll never get it. You know, I'm just going to be relentless at whatever I do. So I honestly just want to get better at everything.
You mentioned you've worked with former pros, former G Leaguers. Who do you think's helped you the most in growing as an athlete?
Who's helped me the most as growing as an athlete, just knowledge-wise? I would say I talked recently to Dwayne Wade's father. So I think he gave me a lot of really good advice about the NBA, about playing, about, you know, how never settling and those type of things. So I think for the most part, he gave me pretty good advice.
And how have you managed to keep yourself ready and prepared? Because, again, going back to the COVID thing, obviously, where are you actually calling in from, I should ask?
I'm in Dallas, Texas right now.
Dallas, Texas. Okay, so I'm in Texas too. Obviously, not the worst as far as restrictions go compared to some of the other parts of the country. But at the same time, there were limited restrictions here and there. Did that affect you at all, like at getting ready? I mean, obviously, having to keep your body in shape, all this, gyms closed. I can imagine that was definitely a bit hampering.
Pretty much, not really. Like the program that my coach and his wife run, I mean, we never really stopped when the pandemic hit. We always kept working. We found some way, somehow, ways to get a gym open for an hour or 30 minutes. Like, we always maintain and we always found a way to work. And now we have the Undiscovered League going on to where we're going to be playing on every weekend. So even in the pandemic right now, when certain teams and certain leagues aren't playing, we are. So we never really just stopped playing at all. So that's how I stayed in a groove and stayed in shape. And we also work out every week. I mean, I never really stopped.
I'll admit, like the Undiscovered League, it was undiscovered by me. I'm not too familiar. So I want you to just kind of like tell me more about the league. Tell the people that don't know about this league what they should know, like to give it more of like some attention, some eyeballs on it.
The Undiscovered League is a great league for most, ran by two good people, Coach Matt and Miss Shearer, so Dr. Shearer Ackerman. So it's a really good league. A lot of former pros play in it. Jason Maxill, Kyle Nelson, a lot guy that played with the Warriors team. Got our team, the Undiscovered Louisville Leopards. So I mean, it's teams we play every weekend and just going at it to stay in shape, keep going, get a lot of game film, and a lot of NBA scouts watching, a lot of NBL Canada, NBA Australia scouts watching. So that's for the most part what it is. And we're just playing, getting better every day.
Now, in a couple weeks, what is your full-on expectation? What are you expecting to hear? I'm sure you have a little bit of like idea in your head.
That's something that I think about every day, but that's something I can never really just put my finger on because we never know what GM's expectations is or what they're looking for. So I feel like I'll just be grateful for whichever team picks me if I get picked, and I just have to adjust and adapt to it. So I'm looking for everybody, but I'm just grateful to get picked by anybody.
Obviously going for this, aspiring for this as a career, I'm sure obviously you're a basketball fan from a very young age. Curious, what was your favorite team growing up?
Lakers. Kobe Bryant fan. It's my favorite player.
Okay. Kobe, favorite player of all time, I guess I take it?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. Because I heard obviously the Allen Iverson take. I was like, maybe, might mix it up. But what's something that you would like people to know about you that they don't?
For the NBA or just in general?
Just in general, like tell people about you. Like what's something that people need to know about Michael Lenoir moving forward, whether it's a fan of basketball, whether it's NBA GM that potentially is out there listening?
Really, I'm just a good outgoing person, very charismatic. I like to have fun. I love the game of basketball. I like to win. I'm very competitive. I'm a very family-oriented person. NBA GMs out there, you can put me on the billboard. I know how to have fun. I know how to sell product. I know how to do all that. So I'm just a great person to be around. I'm a great teammate. Thankful for those guys in the back of me. I always show love. I'm not a selfish person. I'm just a great person to be around, I think. So that'll be the most part.
Do you hold any resentment or do you kind of like understand like why you didn't receive any offers going into the NCAA? What do you think was that thing that kept you from receiving like that college scholarship?
I'll take part of that because I know that I wasn't the guy that I am back then. So I'm not really the type to blame nobody, but at the same time, my senior year, we won the state championship and they had never made it past the third round 2 previous years before that. So that was the first state championship we ever won, and I was the head of the snake of it. I ran the team. I was the leader, yada, yada. But at the same time, the reason I didn't get no offers, I honestly, truly don't know why. You feel what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I look at life like this. Everything happened for a reason. So that happened, and now I'm here.
As far as that goes, I mean, the NBA draft has changed so much over the last few years. When you look at the current NCAA model as it is, a lot of talks about players shifting away from that. And do you think that that is going to be something we see more often moving forward?
Of course, most definitely, especially with the thing they did with the G League. 5 players, they made one team out of all players that wanted to go straight to the league. They wanted to go straight to the G League. They made a whole team right there. What guys are doing now that's just brought to the light because they're 5 stars and 4 stars, I had already did it. I've been did it coming straight out of high school. I played a prep season, and then I went straight pro. Like, I was the first to do it. Me, in the U.S., LaMelo Ball and them, they did it overseas. I was the first to do it in the U.S. But, I mean, like, of course, that's going to come to the light now. Like, it's already paid attention to. I heard they're supposed to be changing the rule back to it. If kids want to come straight out of high school, they should. I think most definitely that's going to come back to the light. Like, that's going to be a big thing. Because kids now, I mean, that's another thing. I feel like it's also a money thing, too. Kids want the money immediately. They want to change their lifestyle immediately. But for the NBA, that could be a mix-up because you might get this guy all this money, but he probably don't really love the game like that. He'd get the money and fall in love with the fame. Versus wise, a person who really hungry and really love the game of basketball and to do whatever to get in that position. That's just something they have to think about finalizing.
Yeah, I think there's a mix of both. Obviously, like, I love myself some college basketball, and we all love our March Madness to be able to watch that whenever it swings around. Obviously, very disappointed that we didn't get to see a March Madness this year. We'll see. Hopefully, best fingers crossed for 2021. I do think that it still has the opportunity to at least increase exposure. I mean, exposure is half the battle when it comes to being able to put your name out there. I know we have scouts all around the world. I mean, if you really want to discover someone, just flip on YouTube. Find anyone's highlights for the most part. With that said, like you said, just the ability to change your life out of high school, I think, is something that a lot of athletes look at and they're like,
like, why not?
Exactly. I mean, it's just like money now is better than money 5 years from now.
Think about it. The average 19, 18-year-old looking at 500,000, like that's a whole lot of money. Why not? And they parents looking at it like that too. But like you said, to the March Madness, like and YouTube. You can click on YouTube and go look at anybody highlights and be like, wow. But look at their actual game, and then you can tell whether you really like them or not. Feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
YouTube, it shows no mess-ups. It's all highlights. But at the same time, in college and March Madness, that was important, and that was big for a lot of players too, because that's where a lot of players blow up at. Look at Jimmy Fredette, Steph Curry. All those guys made a good run in March Madness, and that's why they came out top picks. Feel what I'm saying? But, hey, if stuff happens, it is what it is.
I'm going to try to send you out on the way with one of my favorite questions to ask all our guests here. And that is just simply going to be, what is your favorite all-time sports movie?
Oh, that's hard.
Doesn't have to be basketball. It could be any sport. If you like Happy Gilmore and you're a Happy Gilmore guy, you can go there. It's up to you.
Happy Gilmore go hard, but I don't know. See, I got a lot of basketball movies. I got He Got Game, White Man Can't Jump, 6 Man, Above the Rim, Hoosiers, Rebound, The Legend of Earl Manigault. A lot of people don't know what that is. Blue Chips. It's a lot. I love basketball movies, but if I had to pick one to watch for the rest of my life, Space Jam too. But if I had to pick one to watch the rest of my life, I probably would pick the 6 Man, He Got Game, or Above the Rim. I can't pick one. I can't give you one though.
Yeah. Well, at least we narrowed it down. We at least have a solid list here. Hopefully, NBA GMs are more decisive in picking you on draft day. Rooting for you, my friend. Some shameless plugs. Go ahead. Tell people how to find some of your stuff, where to figure you out on social media, all that good stuff.
Yeah, y'all can go add me on Instagram or follow me on Instagram at King Mike, KVNG.MIIKE. And the same thing on Twitter, minus the dot. So on Twitter, it'll be KVNGMIIKE. So that's how y'all can keep up with me on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Mike. Slumpbusters, you know what to do. Go ahead and check him out. We'll see you on NBA Draft Day.
This is a message brought to you by the Foundation for a Perfect Package.
Why do I need Manscaped?
Why do I need Manscaped?
Why do I need Manscaped?
Because the only frill I want is the one up top.
Because being in a relationship is not an excuse to be lazy.
Because I like talking ball, not smelling like them.
Because deforestation is proven to prevent forest fires.
Manscaped is the only brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming.
Manscaped's Crop Preserver guarantees that you smell your best all day long.
Manscaped Boxer Briefs are the most comfortable underwear on the market.
Manscaped's advanced skincare technology makes nicks a thing of the past.
Manscaped is the #1 in men's grooming. Subscribers get 2 free blade refills every 3 months. Get 20% off plus free shipping and handling with the promo code SLUMP at manscaped.com. That's the promo code SLUMP at manscaped.com. Get your Lawnmower 3.0 today.
We are the Slumpbusters.
And we approve this message.
I'm LeBron James. No, I'm not. But I'm the king when it comes to sports betting. Bet Razor. RazorSport.com.
Hey, Slumpbusters, welcome back. Juju Talk Sports here, but I'm not alone. I'm joined by my other co-host, Jose Corral, 49 Reasons to Listen, because we are here to lament. We've seen a lot of things go on with this 49er season, a lot of bad things. And I think it's only fair that we reflect it. It's kind of a mainstream thing. People know about Jimmy G's struggles. People know about the injuries. It's hard to not sweep under the rug $80 million of your team's cap space being on injured reserve. So if you had to put a grade out the gate on Revenge Tour 2020, where are you at, Jose?
Borderline D- to an F. We've had a couple of highlights, which keeps me from putting it at exactly an F. But if you look at what they did last year, and I know we have the injuries, and I know just guys are really banged up even to start the season, and it didn't get any better at all whatsoever once the season actually started. But still, the fact that we're not even really competitive with teams that we not only should be competitive with, but probably should be beating, that kind of puts it at the D- level for me. It's definitely not what any Niners fan expected. I don't think it's what anybody around the league expected. I think we all expected the Niners to get relatively healthy around this time of year, but then the injuries just came along early part of the season, and they just kept on piling on, and now it's a complete disaster now.
Yeah, after, of course, the back-to-back wins against the Patriots and the Rams, people were riding high. People were thinking, okay, we're starting to make a turnaround. Of course, we talked about they should have just won those early games, but they were still dealing with injuries back then. It's not like they've ever been healthy at any point this season, and I get every team deals with injuries, but after a certain point, this is starting to become repulsive. Every time I look at a Niners headline that pops up on my phone, it's someone else got injured. Or in this case, prior to this game, 8 players, 10 players, whatever, put on the COVID reserve list. And then that list for us included Trent Williams, star rookie Brandon Ayuk, Kendrick Bourne. Say what you want about Kendrick Bourne. He's our wide receiver 3. And I'm going to say this out the gate. Get rid of Kendrick Bourne. So right now he's giving us COVID. He's spreading that around the locker room. He's dropping balls when he's supposed to be a possession type wide receiver. What use is Kendrick Bourne on this roster? He's just expensive at this point. Hell, we got rid of Dante Pettis this week. Actually, we'll probably use Dante Pettis this week. Richie James had a good hell of a game. And to capitalize on what happened tonight, so we're recording here late on a Thursday. The Niners lost 34-17 against the Packers. And if you didn't tell me the score, I would have just guessed they lost because they're literally throwing out their practice squad against the Green Bay Packers, who I consider at least a top 10 team in the NFL. At this point, I look at the Niners, and given the injuries, given the roster, I think this team might legitimately be a bottom 5 team in the NFL because they don't even have their starting quarterback. Let's run through the list here. We did this pre-show, but still. Quarterback 1, out. Tight end 1, out. Tight end 2, out. I didn't even see. Did Jordan Reed play? No? It doesn't matter.
I didn't even see it. No, I don't know.
Wide receivers 1, 2, and 3 out. Running backs 1, 2, and 3 out. Center out. Left tackle out. I think we had injury at guard this week. You look at the defensive side, of course, Nick Bosa out. We've had injuries on the interior line with Solomon Thomas. Jaquiski Tart was out. Had quarterback 1 out. Richard Sherman hasn't played since week 1 of the season. Guys, this is insane. I don't know. What would you say is the cause behind something of this magnitude? Is it just all the preseason? Is it they played later in the year? Or do they just have injured guys? Is that who the Niners specialize in bringing in?
You see, that's what I've been trying to figure out since, the injuries first started. At the beginning of the year, it kind of made sense because of how you were saying the season started basically for them literally when the regular season started. They didn't have much of a training camp. It was kind of a weak training camp. They didn't have a preseason. So that kind of made sense. You could kind of point your finger towards that being the reason. But what's the reason now that they're getting so hurt during the year? Other teams, they didn't have a preseason either. They had a very limited training camp. And yes, there's been injuries around the league that have been pretty big ones, but not as big as the big of an impact that it's giving the Niners right now. So I really don't know. I wish we could, find a way to get guys healthy and for them to stay healthy, more importantly. I don't know if it's play calling, if it's a combination of the way the style of the offense, but then it's also on the defensive side. I know on the defensive side, they like to play really physical, rush the quarterback, and that
all
actually
gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes. But sometimes maybe we gotta pump the brakes and not tear the ACLs, boys. And I don't know. I don't know if that'll help. I really don't know. I've never studied sports medicine. I don't know.
Is their entire practice field made out of MetLife turf? Is that the secret? Is that's what's going on here? Because early in the season, that's what we like to blame, the MetLife turf, right, for those first 2 games there. But we can't rely on that at this point. And I'm starting to look because it's not just relegated to this year, to be honest, guys. If you don't follow the Niners closely, you haven't seen the type of injury reports this team's rolled out over the last 3 years. And I don't know at this point whether I'm supposed to blame Robert Saleh, whether I'm supposed to blame Kyle Shanahan, because they've blamed the strength and conditioning coaches. They fired that entire staff 2 years ago. And hey, you can say their one healthy season together was a Super Bowl run, and maybe that was them finding the secret sauce for a year. But here we are 2 years later in 2020, and it's worse than it's ever been at any point before. And hey, this is just the injury perspective. That's not going into the exterior storylines that are surrounding this team right now. The big one is quarterback. Now, we've talked about Jimmy Garoppolo plenty of times on our show, so if you Slumpbuster listeners, you are unfamiliar with 49 Reasons to Listen, first off, you should probably go subscribe to our channel. But secondly, we've talked a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo because Jimmy Garoppolo is interesting. Jimmy Garoppolo is the best quarterback, honestly, this team has had since Jeff Garcia. When we think about, like, our team, maybe Pete Kaepernick, maybe, like, 1 year of Alex Smith, but for the most part, in terms of consistent quarterback for us for a couple of years, I think Jimmy Garoppolo has been the best quarterback we've had. And the mainstream narrative train has just rolled by and said, Jimmy Garoppolo, you're not good enough, despite your winning percentage that says that you win more games than you lose. You win almost 3 times as many games as you lose. You're not playing well enough. And now with the injuries compounding on it, obviously he missed all of 2018 practically with the ACL tear. And now this high ankle sprain, which he injured once in week 2 against the Jets and now against Seattle in what was a blowout there too. So the Niners have been blown out back-to-back weeks now against the Seahawks and Packers. We think it's time to move on. Here's my problem with that. Who are the Niners getting? Who are the Niners going to go out there and get? Is Trevor Lawrence going to fall on our hands? I mean, we're probably going to be bad the rest of the year, to be honest, but we're not going to be that bad. How are we going to be worse than the Jets? Honestly, we're not going to be that bad. Is Sam Darnold really better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Do we know that for sure? Because Sam, I know he plays with the Jets, but I haven't seen him find any level of consistency. And it's hard to say, is his confidence just shot at this point? It's very possible. I've seen plenty of young quarterbacks come in, have their confidence shot, and then despite our pre-draft analysis of them, our pre-draft thoughts of what this quarterback could be, they're just so far down the road that there's no coming back. That may very well be Sam Darnold. At least with Jimmy Garoppolo, when he plays on Sundays, I feel the Niners have a chance to win. And that's what Kyle Shanahan expressed in one of his press conferences. And how much you believe what Kyle Shanahan is saying, a lot of people are just saying, oh, well, he's saying like they had the best chance of winning with Garoppolo. And some people are interpreting that as, but there's other people that you can win with, right? Well, it's clearly not Nick Mullins. That's what we've learned. And it has very 2014 Jim Harbaugh vibes to me. Because in 2014, even when the Niners won, and that's what happened this year, even when the Niners won some games with Jim, you would see like 10 headlines come about how they should move on and get rid of him, whether that trade him or fire him. And that's where I'm at with Jimmy Garoppolo. How are you feeling about QB?
It's definitely changed since the beginning of the year. You mentioned that we talked a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo. Still, I'm a very huge fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's concerning the amount of times and the type of injuries that he's had. It's not just some tweaks that he took. I mean, he tore an ACL, and then this high ankle sprain, it never got healthy. When he came back from the first time that he sprained it, it was never healthy. You could tell by the way he was playing, but that was their best shot at winning games. A banged up Jimmy Garoppolo gave us a way better shot than a healthy Nick Mullins, or even a healthy CJ Beathard, if I'm being completely honest. And that's alarming for our quarterback situation, just because this offense relies a lot on that quarterback position. That quarterback has to make certain types of throws, and Jimmy Garoppolo is really the only guy in the roster, and I'm going to say it, the only guy really available past this season that's going to be able to do that. So I think when it comes to replacing Jimmy Garoppolo, it's going to be very hard to do, to bring someone in that could really run that offense as good as he did last year. Whenever he did play a completely full healthy season, led the team 13-3 in the regular season, NFC West Division title, and led him to the Super Bowl, really, really close to winning a Super Bowl. So if you're going to tell me that there's somebody out there right now during free agency, or someone we could trade for, or someone in the draft, I think Trevor Lawrence is really the only guy, the only option. And you mentioned it. There's really not a path to Trevor Lawrence right now, just because there's a lot of other bad teams out there that are just, looks like they're purposely tanking at this point. So it's a really tricky situation. I would like to give him one more chance. If he could stay healthy next year, you're going to see obviously you're going to see a way better Niners team, but he's going to have to work really hard to maintain that healthy status throughout the year and get really healthy in the off season, maybe some strength and conditioning. I don't know what could possibly help him to stay healthier, but if he could give us one more year to prove to us if he could stay healthy, he can make another deep playoff run, then I could still see him being the quarterback of the future for the Niners.
Well, if he wants advice on staying healthy, I don't think he should ask the Niners trainers, because they haven't done anything for the rest of the team. I guess, where's your confidence meter in Jimmy Garoppolo being the starting quarterback in 2021?
I think it's around an 7 or 8, just because the way Kyle Shanahan speaks about Jimmy Garoppolo, they had every intention of bringing him in when John Lynch first came on as general manager, and they successfully did it. And I think they paid him right away without really knowing what we were going to get from him. But I think the fact that they won, they paid him, and they went out of their way to go get him, send him the Patriots a second-round draft pick to get him. I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to let go of him. So that's why my confidence is around a 7 or a low 8, as that he's still going to be the starter next year.
Well, at this point, so I think that their best pathway is not going to be from someone who's currently playing in the league. I don't think that it's realistic for us to acquire Matthew Stafford. I don't think it's realistic for us to go after Matt Ryan. And by the way, I don't want to go after those guys. You know, I really don't want to go after Kirk Cousins. I am over that narrative. I know Kyle and him will always be tied, but that is just a relationship that is not meant to be. And when I look at other options, of course, Aaron Rodgers is going to get thrown out. People are mentioning, of course, should we have just signed Tom Brady this year? That's an interesting question there. I think our best avenue is to go through the draft. I've seen a lot of experts put us with like Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, who's been tearing up at BYU. I think this is a very tough year to draft a rookie. I know a lot of people are high on these guys past Trevor Lawrence. I'm high on Justin Fields. Don't get me wrong. Again, I don't think he's falling to us. I don't think that those two guys are falling out of the top 3, and I don't think we're bad enough to be in the top 3. I think that it's more likely, and I'd have to do some serious work into mock drafts moving forward. We draft a guy, 2nd, 3rd round, something in that range. We're definitely drafting a quarterback next year. Who that quarterback is, I have no idea. But I think I'm about at 80% that Jimmy Garoppolo is at least on this roster in 2021 as a starting QB. Whether he retains that job, that's going to be the thing that's left unanswered, at least here in the now. But I just think that it's so hard to evaluate a guy. But these injuries aren't connected either. High ankle sprain, ACL, these are injuries that have no basis in getting placed together. And when we talk about injury-prone players, if it was just he had a nagging hamstring that he just couldn't seem to get over, or another soft tissue injury, okay, that's when you get that injury-prone. But when you have these random injuries like a high ankle or an ACL, I don't think you can really keep throwing that on the player. For a quarterback, I guess maybe a throwing shoulder, but we haven't had that. And I think hopefully we don't have that any further. But supposedly, hopefully he does get a chance to come back this year. That's what I would like to see, and then reestablish himself in the final few games. There's some bad games that he could take advantage of in there. Hopefully he still has teammates to throw the ball to by then. But if so, you could take advantage of a bad Dallas defense or the Redskins or something along those lines. And I guess that's my hope for Jimmy Garoppolo in the rest of 2020. It's going to be an abysmal year. It has very 2017, 2018 vibes, just given the injuries. I mean, if you looked at the team they were rolling out tonight, tell me that's not 2018 roster. Tell me that isn't 28 to a T. Might even be 2017 bad. Hell, if it got any worse, if it wasn't for Fred Warner being on that field, I think we're really talking about like 2015 or 2016 bad. That's rough. But okay, there's other fanhoods on here. There's more fans than just Niners fans because you're listening to Slumpbuster. We're a general sports podcast. We talk about all NFL action, all NBA action, all MLB action. But we're going to focus here in NFL Week 9. So as we mentioned, the Packers already beat the Niners on Thursday Night Football. The next game up, we're going to get into that Sunday slate and just kind of give some instant analysis. I have the Denver Broncos. They are going into Atlanta. Atlanta is going to be a 4-point favorite in this matchup. I think they've been playing a little bit better, Atlanta, personally. The Broncos, though, they actually just had a big comeback victory against the Chargers. You would say when Drew Lock's in the game, similar to like a Jimmy Garoppolo, they have a better chance of winning. I've actually picked up Drew Lock as a streamer in fantasy football this week. Maybe you could take advantage of that Atlanta Falcons defense. Where are you on this game? Who are you picking?
I'm going to go Denver just because you mentioned Drew Lock. Whenever he came back from the injury, it was almost like a night and day difference. That offense was completely different. And that offense has been banged up as well, too, not just at quarterback position. But once Drew Lock came back and the way they kind of came back against, I know it's the Chargers and they do what they do, but still nonetheless, it was a pretty big win for them, pretty big divisional win. And now they're going to be able to possibly another comeback. They should just let the Falcons run up the score in the first half, and then they would for sure win in the second half. But the Denver defense is still a solid defense. They've been playing well the first half of the season, that defense. And I think once Drew Lock came back, you're seeing a much better offense. And then Atlanta, they're still struggling to win games. That's their biggest problem. Obviously, Dan Quinn wasn't he was one of the major problems there. But now you're still seeing some like lingering effect of these guys just not being able to close out games. They're a talented squad, even on the defensive side. For some reason, they can't get it going. They can't really click as a unit yet. So that's why I'm going to put Denver definitely.
Okay. Well, we'll see who could blow a bigger lead, whether it's the Chargers or the Falcons, but the Broncos get to play them in consecutive weeks. Next matchup on the board is going to be big for the NFC West. It has the Seattle Seahawks traveling cross-country to play the Buffalo Bills. Seattle is a 3-point favorite in this matchup. The Bills haven't been playing well. Honestly, I think it's been about 3 weeks since Josh Allen has thrown a touchdown, and I think that's definitely concerning for most Bills fans. Don't tell the Niners this, but the Seahawks are supposed to have a really bad defense. I think the Bills should be able to take advantage and get right finally in this game. I do think it's going to be a little bit on the high scoring side, so I would definitely bet the over of 55 because I think both teams, I think with the way Russ is cooking, should be a fun, entertaining game. I'm actually going to take the Bills to defend home this week.
I'm right there with you. The fact that Seattle has to cross all the way country, go to the East Coast, it's not going to be the best weather either in Buffalo right now. I think the Bills are finally going to get it going a little bit. The defense has been fine. Josh Allen, for some reason, still struggles when it comes to accuracy when making deep throws or even mid-range to shorter throws. But I think they're finally starting to get it together on defense because they struggled at the beginning of the year on the defensive side just a little bit, especially because they were expected to be one of the better defensive sides in the league. But I think now you're going to see them kind of tighten up and really they're the front runners in the NFC and the AFC East, and they got to prove it this week against a really tough matchup.
Well, you expect the Bills to tighten up, but will the Titans tighten up? Because they are going to be playing the Bears in Tennessee. They are 6.5-point favorites, but they are coming off of back-to-back losses. They lost to the Steelers. That was going to be a tight, gritty dogfight anyway. But then they went and lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I understand Cincinnati is one of the best bad teams in the league. But for a Tennessee Titans team to lose to them, that is definitely cause for concern. Alternatively, look at the Bears, and the Bears have always been very suspect this year. We don't know what to make of them. There was that point where they started off 4-0, 5-0. But since then, they've lost to the Rams. They lost last week. They really should have lost more games. They should have lost to the Lions. They should have lost to the Falcons as well. I think giving Tennessee almost a touchdown may feel a little high, but I would still take Tennessee and the points against the Bears because their offense, there's a chance Mitch Trubisky could get back out there on the field. And I think that tells you where the Bears are with their quarterback situation.
Yeah, you mentioned the line there, -6.5. That's a little bit high for me, especially because what we've seen Tennessee the past couple of weeks. I think teams kind of figure it out. Just stack the box against Derrick Henry and pray to God that he's not going to break 10 tackles to the end zone.
And you would say the Bears probably could do that better than most teams.
Yeah, the Bears have the type of defense that could actually do that could really contain. So I think Ryan Tannehill is really going to have to show up this game. He's going to have to put a lot of the burden on his shoulders, especially in that second half, because I think it's going to be a lot closer than what that line is. I still have Tennessee winning the game. Steven Gostkowski field goal, maybe. I'm not too sure. So I'm going to put it by 3. Tennessee by 3.
Tennessee by 3. Okay, so we're both on the Titans this week. Okay, the next one is a unique rivalry game in the sense that this team that's currently the home team used to be the road team, and I don't know. Either way, both teams used to play in Baltimore. That's my point. That's the long-winded way of saying this. The Ravens are going to face the Colts. The Ravens are 2-point favorites on the road. The Ravens lost to their division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've lost another big game this year against the Kansas City Chiefs. When it comes to the Colts, they came off the bye and they played well off the bye against the Detroit Lions. I still have very legitimate concerns about Phillip Rivers. And I actually picked Detroit to win that game. Didn't happen. But I would say that the Ravens could give more problems for a statue like Phillip Rivers. Obviously, they acquired Yannick Ngakoue. I think he's going to be suiting up this week. Michael Judon. Certainly, they have a decent defense that should be able to cause issues for what the Colts like to do, especially the Colts are doing weird stuff at running back with Jonathan Wilkins, Jonathan Taylor. And I think that's not going to be able to maintain. I'm interested in the matchup between Lamar Jackson and the Colts defense, though. I think that's going to be a unique back and forth thing because obviously people are talking about it. Lamar has regressed this year as a passer, and I think playing this defense means that this is going to be a very low scoring game. I might take the under on this one, but I will still take the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm still taking the Ravens too, and I'm taking the points as well. I see them winning by maybe a touchdown, but you mentioned Phillip Rivers. I actually think, surprisingly, he's been okay with the Indianapolis Colts. It seems like he still makes those kind of bonehead mistakes that he made back with the Chargers, but it seems like they're a little bit fewer. I'm not too sure if it's that he's with Indianapolis now and their play style is a little bit different, but I kind of don't mind the way he's been playing and the quarterback position there. But you mentioned it. I just think this Ravens team is going to be a little bit too much on both ends of the ball. That offense is still explosive. It could really just run up the score on anybody at any given time. Even with the struggles of Lamar Jackson throwing the ball, he's still just as dangerous and maybe a little bit more dangerous on his feet. So I just think that team, the roster on both sides of the ball, is just going to be a little bit too much for the Colts this week.
You know whose roster I'm really digging? And I think that the Ravens definitely need to make up some ground on? The Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Kansas City Chiefs as my number 1 in the power rankings over Tampa Bay, over the Steelers who are still undefeated. And they are 10.5-point favorites against the Carolina Panthers in Arrowhead. I think that's going to hold up. I think that they should be able to pick apart what the Panthers defense is. Luke Kuechly isn't walking back through that door. I believe that Patrick Mahomes should have no difficulty, certainly between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and maybe Le'Veon Bell, who continues to get his feet under him. They will just honestly need to keep the ball on the ground. They should just keep pounding Carolina. I will say this. I've been surprised at how well they played this year. I think this might finally be Christian McCaffrey's return week. So if you're a fantasy owner, kudos to you. You finally get your guy back. I know you've been struggling for a while without him. He's been out since week 1, week 2?
Week 2.
Yeah, that's definitely concerning when you invest a number 1 overall pick in somebody. But you get him back for the playoff run if you're still in it. Anyway, I take the Chiefs. Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Chiefs as well. Again, it's going to be one of those scenarios where one roster is just going to completely overpower the other one. But you mentioned the Carolina playing really, really well. Matt Rule seems to be the right decision for now there. The team seems like they're in a lot of close games. They played New Orleans very, very close. Almost should have won that game, actually. And they've won a couple of big games as well against not teams like
10.5. Where are you at with that? Like if you had to go with the Vegas line, I'm just saying who would you pick straight up?
10.5. I would take the points. I think the Chiefs will cover. The Chiefs will cover. It'll be double digit, maybe 13, maybe 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I got the Chiefs. Yeah, the roster is just a little bit too much for Carolina.
Okay. Next up is going to be in the NFC North. The Detroit Lions are going into Minnesota. Detroit, I will say that they have that like streak in them where they can get up in games, they can cause issues, they can be disruptive. In fact, they went out there and acquired Everson Griffin. To much people's surprise, they were not sellers at the deadline. They were actually trying to make moves and make stuff happen. They acquired him from the Cowboys, but he was previously of the Minnesota Vikings, obviously. The Vikings are going to be, well, dang, they don't have the lines posted for this one. Kind of wondering if it's a pick on them. It might be a pretty close game according to Vegas. Minnesota's the home team. If I had to pick who's going to win this one, I know the Vikings seem like they're more in sell mode, but they actually got a win last week. I think I'm going to take the Lions to bounce back after that loss to the Indianapolis. I think they're just such an up and down team, and the Vikings have been mostly down this year.
Yeah, I think the reason you don't see a line there is because Vegas just cares like absolutely nothing about this game, and neither does anybody outside of Detroit and Minneapolis, if I'm being completely honest. It's a game that, I mean, you mentioned it, it's a toss-up. I don't know who's playing better. I just know they're both not playing great this season. Maybe the Lions are more of a little bit of a rush mode. If they really want to keep, the players want Matt Patricia to still be their coach, they're going to have to show up and win some games here. If not, he might be out of here. So maybe they have a little bit, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out this week and for the rest of the season if they really want Matt Patricia there or not. But for right now, I'm going to go Minnesota because, I mean, they're coming off a pretty big win for them last week. So maybe they turn it around a little bit after that big performance last week. So I'm going to go Minnesota.
Okay, and our next matchup. So despite being 1-7, the New York Giants, folks, still have an opportunity to win the NFC East. And they are going to be doing that against the Washington football team. Washington is 2.5-point favorites at home coming off a bye week. I think I'm going to stick with them. I like actually how this team's culture has started to shift. I like what I saw. So prior to them going on the bye week, they obviously got a big victory over the division rival Cowboys. And a guy, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, as they call him, he steps up. So Ron's basically go around the locker room and say, hey, has anyone got anything to say? Terry steps up and says, yeah, hey, guys, I like what we did this week, but we can always play better. You love to see when a young guy is stepping up like that. And that tells me that Ron Rivera, what he's doing is working. We gave him a shout out on 49 Reasons. Listen, the guy's coming back off of surviving cancer while coaching an NFL football season. If any coach complains about media scrutiny or any other moments like Adam Gase or something like that, this guy survived cancer and coached a football team. No more bitching. Yep. That's all I got to say. Washington football team, you get that dub this week.
Yeah, I'm going with Washington as well. The Giants are a complete mess. Even if they were healthy, they were never good. Even if they had Saquon Barkley, they were doing much with him anyway. And they're just banged up even more. So they're worse than what they really were when they started the year, which was terrible to begin with. And you mentioned it. Well, the Washington football team, the 2 wins that they got have been decent performances by them. And you mentioned it, Terry McLaurin, he is a huge pickup for them last year. When they got him from Ohio State, it was actually huge for them. That's really a cornerstone that they could build off of to maybe get a really strong receiving core there. But I think they're doing just enough with what Ron Rivera had to work with. They're doing just enough to, have a little bit of positive after so many years of negatives. So I think, Washington's they're doing fine, and I think they'll win this week.
Okay, our next one. I didn't think I'd be saying this year, but the Houston Texans are 1-6. They're also going to be facing another 1-6 team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not a game that I'm exactly dying to put on my television screen, and maybe if Red Zone picks it up. But Houston is going to be a touchdown favorite on the road. I've heard Gardner Minshew is probably not going to play this week. In fact, I think he's officially ruled out. I think that's fair to give Houston the win. Obviously, they have the best player in the game when it comes to Deshaun Watson, regardless of all the exterior things going on.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Houston too. Maybe the Deshaun Watson factor there is just, and the Jaguars, I don't even know who's going to play quarterback for them. I don't know anybody else on their roster, if I'm being completely honest. I know nothing about the Jags this year, and I don't think anybody outside of Jacksonville, probably folks in Jacksonville don't even know anything about their team there because they're kind of lost. That franchise is lost ever since they made that AFC championship run. It's just been a disaster since then, and that disaster is just completely gone haywire, and that franchise is just going nowhere, it seems like. In Houston, well, they're going through a pretty big change after firing their general manager and coach. So I think Houston, they're just going to be a little bit better, but like you mentioned, it's a game that nobody wants to watch. It's a game that if one game has to be canceled due to COVID, just make it this one.
They should have canceled that Niner-Packer game due to COVID.
Yeah, I would have been happy.
They actually had a legitimate cause to do that, but I'm not going to bitch. I'm not going to bitch anymore. All right, let's move into the next game. Surprisingly, the Las Vegas Raiders might be the best functioning thing in Nevada right now, because clearly we don't really know about their polling systems or their ability to count ballots, but, they can at least count the Raiders, giving them a decent opportunity to win on Sundays. They're going to be playing the Los Angeles Chargers. And, I just noticed how I had to just constantly keep in my mind, both these teams are not playing in the original cities that I
So hard. That was so hard.
Yeah, I was like, is it Oakland? Is it San Diego? Is it Vegas? Is it LA? Either way, both these teams, new cities, new states of the franchise. Raiders coming off a huge win for their playoff hopes against the Cleveland Browns. This is an even line. Wow. This is an even line. Vegas is basically saying this is a pick 'em. And with the way Justin Herbert has played, you can definitely say the Chargers are getting a little bit more love these days. They just need to be able to hold on to leads. They need to prove that they can win games now at this point, because they had the leads. Can you win a game? The Raiders can win a game. And I'm going to say they win this game. I'm going to go with the Raiders.
I'm going to go with the Raiders too. One thing they could learn to do a little bit better is John Gruden could learn how to put on his face mask, so he won't get fined so many damn times for not doing that. And so he won't cost his employers a lot of money as well, $500,000 to be exact, or $1 million now since it's twice. But the Raiders, they've been playing really, really well ever since that win against Kansas City. It seems like it's a team that I didn't think could pull off a win like that. When you think of this Las Vegas team, you don't think of a team that could just step into any scenario and win a game. But if they play the way they played against Kansas City, they could play against anybody, really. So yeah, I got the Raiders as well.
Want to know a first this week of the NFL season? This is the first time that the Jets aren't the biggest betting line on the Sunday slate. You want to know who is? The Pittsburgh Steelers going into Dallas this week.
Oh, great.
14-point favorites the Steelers are against, I think, Ben DiNucci, I think maybe Cooper Rush, one of those two quarterbacks. But either way, it's not Dak Prescott. It's not Andy Dalton. And even if it was, I don't think that's going to help them much against the Steelers. I am going to take the Steelers. 14 is high, but I would say I think they can cover.
Yeah, I'm going to say they cover as well. Again, the Cowboys are just so depleted. They've had their share of injuries, but even a healthy Cowboys team against a healthy Steelers team, the way this season has played out, it just wouldn't be that close anyway. So, yeah, I got the Steelers actually covering as well.
Okay. I think both these teams can be described as surprises within their divisions within the NFL this year, but I was going to go with the Miami Dolphins at 4-3. Will be traveling into Arizona to face the 5-2 Cardinals coming off a bye. Arizona 4.5-point favorites. Saw Tua's debut. I gotta say, wasn't impressed. It was kind of a lackluster debut. Do I think that this team will adjust? Left-handed quarterback, it's a hard transition, that's for sure. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, say what you want about the guy, he's a vet, he's a proven guy that can get in there, win you games, cause disruption. I think this is a game in which you prefer if Fitzpatrick is starting. I don't think this is a good game for Tua. I think I'm going to have to take the Cardinals to win at home, especially coming off the bye.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals as well, but I'm actually kind of excited for this matchup. If you would have asked me what I thought of Arizona versus Miami last year, I'd have been like, no shot. But this year, the way that both of these teams have been playing, and recently they've been playing really, really well. Both teams actually have. So I'm actually kind of excited to watch a little bit. I'll probably watch a little bit of this game as well. But I think Arizona, them being at home, I think they've been together a little bit more. Their core group has been together, since the start of last year. And I think Miami is like barely starting to piece things together. They have the right guys, but I think they still have to mold it into what they want it to become. But I think Arizona is just a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to, molding a potentially really good team with a lot of young players. I think Arizona is just a little bit of a step ahead, and you're going to see it on Sunday.
I got to say, at least seeing what Jared Goff did against this Miami defense, it made me feel better about what Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners did against this Miami defense.
Yes.
I don't think they'll be able to contain Kyler, again, coming off a bye, though. Let's go with the Cardinals. This Sunday night game, actually has probably be one of the best Sunday night games, at least on paper, that we've seen this year. The New Orleans Saints, 5-2, going against the 6-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be Antonio Brown's potential debut. Yeah. So Brady gets another weapon. The Bucs are opening as 4.5-point favorites. If we flash back to week 1, the Saints got the victory in that one. I said they were going to split the series. I'm going to go with the Bucs.
I'm going to go with the Bucs as well because a lot happened since that week 1 matchup. You're seeing a Saints team that's a little bit banged up as well when it comes to a lot of skill positions. And you're seeing a Bucs team that's really physical on defense. And there could be really, really explosive as well on offense. So it's a pretty dangerous combination that Bruce Arians is running there. And I think it's just going to be a little bit too much for Drew Brees and company this week. And I think Tom Brady, he still has a competitive edge on him where he's going to say, okay, they beat us week 1. You're not beating us again this week. So I got the Bucs as well.
Okay, like I said, so the Jets are not the biggest Vegas underdog this week. They are playing Monday Night Football against the Patriots. Flashback to last year. Remember the last time they played the Patriots on Monday Night Football, it wasn't the best day for Sam Darnold. But this is a different Patriots team. They are 2-5 and clinging to any shred of playoff hope. I think that's a foregone conclusion. They're not making it this year.
Yes.
And the Jets, I mean, let's face it, they've already lost 0-8 from what I can tell. And no signs of relief coming soon. I think we just know Bill has Sam's number. He has Adam Gase's number. Chalk it up. The Patriots should win this game. Hopefully it's at least a good game for Cam because that guy's clinging to his NFL career at this point.
Yeah, and you got to just hope for Sam Darnold to not be seeing any ghosts this time around last year because, that was kind of rough on him. But you mentioned it, the Patriots really needed this one. This is a really huge game for them. They have to win. If they don't win, I don't know what it's going to mean for Cam. I honestly don't know what it's going to mean for Bill Belichick as far as him want to deal with rebuilding another franchise at his age, and then maybe he just says, you know what, Josh McDaniels, you take it. You take the reins and good luck. Because if they can't beat this Jets team, that's how you know this Patriots team is just in a struggle, like in a big one.
What do you think of the narrative, though, that Bill Belichick would potentially lose both games to the Jets to just ensure that maybe Trevor Lawrence doesn't go to them?
I mean, at this point, you're not playing for anything else. You mentioned that. I mean, their playoff hopes are very slim at this point. I don't know. He's always had a sour taste for the Jets. He doesn't like the Jets at all. So maybe he will. Maybe he'll tank it so Houston might get, or somebody else who's a one, or maybe the Giants will get Trevor Lawrence now. But you never know. Maybe that could be something up. I would say his sleeves, but he usually doesn't wear some in his hoodies. So, but I don't know. A trick up his sleeves. He probably doesn't have sleeves on right now. So I don't know.
All right, Jose. Well, obviously, I enjoy talking a ton on 49 Reasons to Listen. Again, Slumpbuster listeners, go ahead and check out our secondary channel. Jose, with that said, we always ask all our guests on the show. You're one of our guests on the show this time around. Okay. What is their favorite all-time sports movie?
My favorite all-time sports movie, Remember the Titans.
Okay, and that's a very popular one. That's been on the show plenty of times. Okay, I know you also do a lot of stuff with like Twitch. You want to give like a shout out to that right now?
Yeah, I stream on Twitch basically every night. I play a lot of Call of Duty on Twitch. It is TD, T as in Tom, D as in David, Corral 08 on Twitch.
808s in Corral. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I get what your reference is for your Instagram logo, by the way. Did you vote for him? That's the real question. That's the real question, Jose.
I'll tell you what.
Your vote?
I'll tell you what. I've never voted for any election ever. I was so close for this one only because he was running. This was the closest time I've ever been to actually voting in an election because before I just don't vote anywhere. I don't know why, but I just don't. But I was really close. Trust me, I was really, really close.
Really? I thought you voted in Vegas and they were still waiting to count it.
Oh, they lost my ballot in the mail somehow.
Somehow, some way. All right, man. Well, it's been fun having you. Slumpbuster listeners, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and check out our sponsors, whether it be Manscaped.com, Razor Sport, Nature's Relief, or Caveman Coffee. And if you use promo code SLUMP, of course, you're going to get some good savings there. Check us out on Instagram at Slumpbuster Podcast, on Twitter at Slumpbuster Pod. And folks, of course, in all these crazy times, I need you really, more than any time this week, to stay safe, happy, and healthy. And we'll see you on the next one.